Thud! My cheap canvas suitcase hit the waterlogged grass, splashing black mud onto my trouser legs. The November storm whipped my face like cold leather lashes. I stood frozen in the middle of the vast garden, rain streaming down from my hair into my collar, soaking into my very bones. In front of me, under the warm, yellow-lit porch, was my mother-in-law, Eleanor. She stood there, wrapped in a cream fur shawl, holding a glass of red wine, looking at me like a stray dog just kicked out of its kennel. "Don't stand there looking at me like that, Julian," Eleanor's voice hissed, sharp enough to pierce through the thunder rumbling in the sky. "I told you. This house has no place for parasites, and certainly no place for those who dare to open their mouths to lecture my daughter." She took a sip of wine, her bright red lips curling into a scornful smile. "So what if Victoria came home late? What does who she goes with have to do with you? Remember, every brick under your feet, every steak you stuff into your mouth every night is this family's money. You are just a non-paying lodger, Julian, and lodgers have no right to complain about the landlord." I clenched my fist in my soaked coat pocket. Not out of anger, but to protect the hard, cold object resting in the palm of my hand. A Ledger Nano X cold wallet. It was tiny, just the size of a regular USB drive, but it held the key to a fortune worth $50 million that her husband, Mr. Holt, had embezzled over the past decade. They thought I was a fool. They thought I was just an unemployed gaming addict who only knew how to bury his face in a computer all day. They didn't know that I held the financial life of this entire clan right in my pocket. "You're right, Mrs. Eleanor," I said, my voice deep and strangely calm, even though my teeth were chattering from the cold. "I am just a lodger, and tonight the lodger is checking out." The heavy oak door behind Eleanor opened. Victoria walked out, still wearing the daringly low-cut evening gown from last night's party, her makeup slightly smudged from sweat and alcohol. She leaned against the doorframe, looking at me with glazed eyes. Beside her was Lance, her public lover, wrapping his arm around her waist possessively. Lance looked at me, smirking. "Come on, Julian. Don't make a scene. It's raining pretty hard out there." "Or you could just kneel down and apologize to Mom, and I'll put in a good word for you to sleep in the garage tonight." He pulled a cigar from his vest pocket, lit it, and blew a puff of white smoke that hovered in the damp air. The smell of premium tobacco mixed with his overpowering cologne hit my nose, nauseating me. I looked at Victoria, the wife I once swore to protect for life. She didn't look at me. She was busy nuzzling her head into Lance's shoulder, giggling at his cruel joke. "No need," I replied to Lance, my eyes boring into him like a laser. "The garage is too cramped. I think it suits you better, Lance." "Soon." Lance burst out laughing, the sound echoing through the quiet yard. Is this crazy guy still delusional about his power? What do you have in your hand to threaten me? That tattered suitcase. Eleanor waved her hand as if shooing away a bothersome fly. Enough. Close the door, Lance. The cold air is ruining Mom's 1982 vintage wine. Get lost, Julian, and don't ever let me see your face in this elite neighborhood again. The door slammed shut in front of me. The sound of the lock clicking, click, click, rang out continuously, dry and decisive. The warm yellow light vanished behind the thick velvet curtains. Only me, the darkness, and the screaming storm remained. I bent down and picked up the suitcase. Rainwater ran down the bridge of my nose, salty on my lips. I didn't cry. I looked up at the second-floor window, where the light from Victoria's bedroom had just turned on. I saw the silhouette of two people entangled, printed on the curtains. I put my hand in my pocket, my thumb gently rubbing the cool metal surface of the ledger wallet. A faint smile appeared on my soaked face. Enjoy tonight, Holt family, because tomorrow, when the sun rises, you will realize that you just threw your entire fortune out the window. I turned and walked into the rain. Each step sank heavily into the mud, but my heart felt light. The game has begun.
Part 2. The Setup.
My attic room always had a temperature about 2 degrees Celsius higher than the other rooms in the house. Not because of a heater, but because of the heat radiating from the 3-screen computer rig running continuously 24/7. The sound of cooling fans humming steadily like the heartbeat of a mechanical monster. To the Holt family, this room was the pigsty of a useless gaming addict.
Every time Eleanor passed my door, she held her nose, complaining about the smell of failure. But they didn't know that on those 3 black screens with dancing green and red command lines, I was controlling currency flows worth millions of dollars. I am Julian, but in the underground world of blockchain, they call me the architect. I don't play games.
I hunt for potential NFT projects, arbitrage between decentralized exchanges, and manage assets for anonymous whales who want to hide their money from government scrutiny. Click. My door burst open without a knock. Mr. Holt walked in, his gray suit luxurious, but always exuding the gaudiness of the nouveau riche. In his hand he held a thick envelope and a small black object.
"Hey, useless," he called, throwing the envelope onto my keyboard. "Stop your silly shooting games. I have a job for you." I slowly took off my headphones, swiveling my chair around. I had to squint because his cigar smoke stung my eyes. "Yes, Dad?" I replied, trying to keep my tone as timid and slow as possible. "You have too much free time, right?" Mr. Holt placed the small black object on the desk.
It was a Ledger Nano X cold wallet, the high-end titanium-plated model. I have a sum of money, a bonus from a partner. I don't want to keep it in the bank. The tax procedures are troublesome. Lance told me to buy this. He said it's absolutely safe.
But I give up. I don't know how to use it. You're a tech guy. You keep this for me." He pushed the wallet toward me, then pulled a crumpled yellow sticky note from his pocket.
"This is the password, and some recovery keywords or whatever. I wrote it all down here. Put it in your toy box, the place no one bothers to look at. If my wife or Victoria asks, say you bought a USB drive for games. Understood?" I picked up the paper. 24 seed phrase words scribbled in blue ballpoint pen. This was the master key to access the wallet.
Anyone with this paper could appropriate all the money inside, regardless of where the physical wallet was. He had just handed me $50 million of dirty money and the safe key, just because he believed I was too stupid to understand its value. Or perhaps he believed the contempt he held for me was an absolute shield. "Dad, how much money does this hold?" I asked innocently. Mr. Holt smirked, patting my cheek.
"More than the number of neurons in your brain, son. Don't be curious. Just keep it. At the end of the month, I'll give you $500 to buy game cards." He turned and walked away, slamming the door. I looked at the cold wallet on the desk, then at the sequence of numbers on the paper. I plugged the wallet into the computer. The connection notification appeared on the screen. I entered the seed phrase. Balance: 52,480,000 USDT.
Over $50 million. This was embezzled money from the Southern Urban Planning Project he was in charge of last month. I knew it well because I had seen news about the controversial land clearance in the press. I pulled the wallet out, hiding it carefully in the secret drawer under the desk, where I kept hard drives containing important source codes. $500 to guard $50 million. A bargain for him if I were truly a fool. That evening, the atmosphere in the dining room was as stifling as usual. The 12-person-long dining table was set with shiny silver cutlery. I sat at the end of the table, closest to the kitchen door, the position for servants. Victoria sat opposite Lance. Today, Lance came to dinner as the family's private financial advisor. He wore an unbuttoned Versace silk shirt, revealing a thick gold chain.
On his wrist was a diamond-encrusted Patek Philippe Nautilus watch. I recognized that watch. Last month, I saw the payment invoice Victoria sent to the joint email, which she forgot to log out of on the living room tablet. $300,000. Money from the joint savings fund Victoria and I had set up to buy a house of our own. Turns out, our dream house was now sitting on her lover's wrist.
"I invite you to try this foie gras, Lance," Victoria said, her voice sweet as honey. "The private chef made it according to a French recipe. It's very sophisticated, not like the canned food someone usually eats." She glanced sideways at me. On my plate was the leftover spaghetti from the helper's lunch, heated up perfunctorily. Lance laughed loudly, putting a piece of foie gras into his mouth and chewing noisily. "Wonderful, Victoria. You truly are a woman of taste. It's a pity you're stuck with a—" He paused, looking me up and down mockingly.
An outdated item. He pointed at the faded t-shirt I was wearing. Hey, Julian, did you buy that shirt from the last decade, or did you pick it up from a charity bin? I lowered my head, continuing to twirl the bland noodles around my fork. I smelled Lance's Santal 33 perfume overpowering the air, drowning out the smell of food. That was the smell of arrogance. I think it's still wearable, I replied softly. Wearable? Lance laughed out loud. Truly the mindset of a poor person. In my world, clothes aren't for covering the body, but for asserting status. But you probably wouldn't understand. You only understand those virtual characters in games, right? Eleanor tapped her spoon lightly on the crystal glass, signaling silence, but her eyes shone with admiration for Lance. Come on, Lance, don't tease him anymore. He'll get depressed. Let's talk about the main business, the laundering.
I mean, real estate investment project you mentioned. When can we deploy it? Lance wiped his mouth with a linen napkin, adjusting his posture to sit straight. Auntie, everything is ready. The shell company in Panama has been set up. Just need Uncle to transfer that capital to my intermediary account. I will turn it into legal profit from virtual resort business. Clean, safe, and untraceable. Mr.
Holt nodded smugly, cutting a piece of rare steak dripping with red blood. Very good. Tomorrow, I will give you that USB. You handle it quickly and neatly for me. After this deal, I will have enough money to retire in Monaco. Victoria placed her hand on Lance's hand, eyes glistening. And we will go there for vacation too, right, honey? I'm sick of this gloomy, rainy city. I sat silently, chewing the dry noodles in my mouth.
Tomorrow. They intended to transfer the money tomorrow. They were discussing their brilliant future right in front of me, treating me like air, like an inanimate object incapable of hearing or understanding. They didn't know that the USB they mentioned was under my control, and so was their brilliant future. I looked up, looking straight at Lance. He caught my gaze, slightly startled by the strange coldness in the eyes of the loser.
But then he quickly brushed it off, smirking contemptuously. What's wrong, Julian? Do you want to ask me for a ticket to Monaco to be a luggage carrier? That works too, but you have to learn to bow lower. I smiled. A very slight smile, almost unrecognizable. No, Lance, I was just thinking. Monaco must be very beautiful this season. It's a pity. You will never see it.
I stood up, taking the unfinished plate of spaghetti into the kitchen, leaving behind a confusing silence covering the dining table for a few seconds, before their mocking laughter rang out again, louder and crueler. The next morning, the air in the Holt mansion was as thick as paste. Mr. Holt paced back and forth in the living room, his heels striking the wooden floor, creating restless, impatient sounds. He constantly checked his watch, sweat beading on his forehead, even though the air conditioning was set to 20 degrees Celsius. His time was running out.
Rumors of a financial inspection at the construction corporation where he worked had begun to leak in the morning papers. I was polishing a bronze statue in the corner of the room, playing the role of an invisible and devoted servant. "Polish that clean, mister," Holt shouted, his voice cracking with tension. "Don't let me see a single speck of dust. Lance is coming this afternoon to get the USB. Everything must be smooth. If there is any mistake, I will skin you alive before kicking you out onto the street." I bowed my head, my hand still diligently scrubbing the cold statue. "Yes, Dad. I checked it carefully. It's still safe in the game disc box."
He snorted, turning to Victoria, who was painting her nails on the sofa. "Did you call Lance? Tell him to prepare the money transfer channel carefully. $50 million is not a small number. Don't let the banks sniff it out." Victoria blew lightly on her fingers, her face indifferent, but her eyes shining with unconcealed greed. "Dad, don't worry. Lance is an expert. He has set up a network of shell companies in the Virgin Islands. The money will go through 10 countries before coming back to our pockets as clean investment profit." I heard every word they said. They were discussing a large-scale money laundering operation right in front of me, as if I were a vacuum cleaner. They were too confident in my fake stupidity. But they forgot a basic rule of the digital world. The person holding the private key is the true owner of the asset. Noon. I went up to the second floor to check the Wi-Fi router, as ordered by Eleanor. As I passed Victoria's bedroom, I heard giggling. The door was ajar. Lance had arrived earlier than expected. He and Victoria were lying on the bed, surrounded by design drawings of a resort villa in Monaco. I stood pressed against the wall, holding my breath. "Look at this, baby," Lance pointed at the drawing. "This master bedroom is 100 square meters wide with a view straight to the Mediterranean Sea. I will put your name as the sole owner." Victoria squealed, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Oh, Lance, you're amazing! I can't wait to leave this gloomy house and escape that grumpy old man." "Old man?" Lance sneered. "You mean your dad? Who else?" Victoria's voice became cold and cruel, different from her usual whining demeanor. "Does he think he will control that money? As soon as the money is in your account, we will fly far away, leaving him with a pile of legal troubles and that useless son-in-law." "What about Julian?" Lance asked, voice full of mockery. "That idiot? Just let him stay here and take the fall for us."
When the police raid, they will find him holding an empty, cold wallet. He will be the perfect scapegoat. I have the divorce papers ready, just waiting for you to finish the transfer to sign. I stood frozen in the hallway. My heart didn't hurt as I thought it would. It just went cold, froze completely. The last bit of hesitation about the hypocrisy of interfering with others' assets vanished.
They didn't just want to kick me out.
They wanted to turn me into a scapegoat for their sins. They wanted me to go to jail for their greed. Fine, Victoria. You want a scapegoat? I will show you how a pawn can checkmate a king. 2 a.m., the last night before Judgment Day. I sat in the pitch-black attic room. The only light came from the 3 computer screens running command lines at breakneck speed. I took the cold wallet out of the old game disc box. I plugged it into the computer USB port. The screen requested a PIN code. I entered the sequence Mr. Holt had stupidly written on paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Truly the password of a tech-blind person. The wallet opened. Current assets, 52,485,120 USDT. This amount was enough to buy a small island, or enough to ruin a person's life. I opened the Tor browser, accessing the anonymous network. I didn't transfer the money to my account. Doing so would be suicide. I had a much crueler plan. I began entering the recipient wallet addresses. It wasn't a personal wallet. It was the public wallet address of the Global Children's Fund and Anti-Corruption Watchdog. I split the amount into 50 different transactions to avoid network congestion. But this was the most important part. I inserted a metadata snippet into each transaction. This snippet contained a fake digital footprint. It pointed the source IP address of the transaction to the server at Lance's real estate office. And I attached a public message on the blockchain. Donation from Lance Sterling for a corruption-free world. I pressed the button, Send All. The status bar ran slowly. 10%. 30%. My hand didn't shake at all. I was doing Robin Hood's work, but with a joker's smile. 60%, 90%. Transaction complete. The balance in the ledger wallet returned to around 0. But I didn't stop there. I needed to ensure Mr. Holt would go mad tomorrow morning. I accessed the security settings of the cold wallet. I selected the Reset Seed Phrase feature.
I generated a new set of 24 random keywords. Then I entered a new, extremely complex password. Now, the yellow paper Mr. Holt was holding, and whatever he remembered in his head, became meaningless. This wallet was now permanently locked to him. It became a literal brick. I pulled the wallet out, wiped off fingerprints, then put it back in the game disc box. I turned off the computer. The room plunged into darkness. I leaned back in the chair, listening to the rain starting to fall, pit-a-pat on the roof. Tomorrow morning would be a stormy day, but not a weather storm, but a storm of suspicion. I closed my eyes, imagining Lance's face when he received the charity certificate worth $50 million. He would become the greatest philanthropist in criminal history. And the Holt family? They would tear each other apart like hungry wolves. I slept the soundest sleep in 3 years. The next morning, 9 a.m., Lance appeared at the Holt mansion with the radiant face of a winner. He came with 2 burly bodyguards carrying a specialized metal briefcase to hold a secure laptop. "Good morning, everyone," Lance shouted, voice booming cheerfully. Mr. Holt was drinking coffee, hands trembling with nervousness. Eleanor was burning incense, praying at the ancestral altar, a ridiculous act for atheists like them. Victoria ran out to greet Lance, kissing him on the cheek. "You're here! Let's do it right away. I can't wait another second." Mr. Holt stood up, walking toward me, standing, sweeping the yard. "Hey, Julian, bring your game box out here. Immediately." I put the broom down, walking into the house with a familiar slouch. I went into the room, took the game disc box out. Inside was the empty ledger wallet I had prepared last night. I brought it to the living room, placing it on the glass coffee table in front of Lance. Lance looked at me with contemptuous eyes, smirking. "Thanks, shipper. You did a good job guarding the item. Now get lost so the adults can work." I didn't go. I stepped back a few paces, leaning against the liquor cabinet, arms crossed. "I want to watch," I said. "Watch what?" Lance frowned. "See what $50 million looks like on a screen." I've never seen that much money in my life. The whole family laughed. "Truly a peasant," Eleanor pouted. "Show him, Lance. Let him be dazzled before kicking him out." Lance shrugged, opening the laptop. He plugged the wallet in. He opened the wallet management software. "All right, Uncle, read me the password." Mr. Holt took out the crumpled yellow paper, reading loudly and clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lance entered it. Enter. The screen displayed red text. "Wrong pin. 2 attempts left." The atmosphere in the room sank. "How can it be wrong?" Mr. Holt frowned. "Read it again, Uncle." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lance re-entered it, carefully with each finger. Enter. "Wrong pin. 1 attempt left. Device will wipe data after next fail." Sweat started pouring on Lance's forehead. "Uncle, are you sure? If it's wrong again, everything is lost." Mr. Holt snatched the computer, face red. "Get out of the way. Let me enter it myself." He typed hard on the keyboard, eyes bulging. Enter. The whole room held its breath. A yellow triangle warning icon appeared on the screen. And the fateful text. "Device reset. All data erased." Mr. Holt screamed a shrill cry, knocking the computer to the floor. "What the hell is this?" Lance hurriedly picked up the computer. "Calm down, Uncle. There's still the seed phrase. The paper, give me the paper. We can recover it on another wallet." Mr. Holt tremblingly gave the yellow paper to Lance. Lance quickly entered the 24 keywords into the recovery software on his computer. Loading bars spinning, spinning. The whole Holt family huddled around the screen, hearts pounding.
The loading bar stopped. The screen showed green, signaling success. Victoria cheered. "All right, that was close." But her smile vanished instantly when looking at the displayed balance number. Balance 0.00 USDT. Silence. A deadly silence covered the luxurious villa. "Where's the money?" Eleanor whispered, voice trembling.
"Where is my money?" Mr. Holt roared like a wounded beast. He spun around to face me, eyes bloodshot. You bastard! What did you do to the wallet?" I still stood leaning against the liquor cabinet, face perfectly bewildered. "I don't know anything. I just left it in the game box."
"You see, Dad, I don't even know what the password is. How could I take it?" Lance stood up, face drained of blood, staring at the transaction history on the screen. "Wait, there is a transaction history. At 3 a.m. this morning, the entire amount was transferred out." He swallowed hard, turning to look at Victoria, then at Mr. Holt with utter terror. It was transferred to charity funds, with a message.
He hesitated, not daring to read on. "Read it!" Mr. Holt shouted. "The message is, 'Donation from Lance Sterling.'" Every eye in the room turned toward Lance. Mr. Holt slowly turned around, looking at his daughter's lover with the eyes of a murderer. The trap had sprung, and the prey were tearing each other apart. The silence in the living room was shattered by Mr. Holt's roar. "Lance!" He lunged at his daughter's lover, grabbing the silk shirt collar tight with both hands. "What did you do? Where did you transfer the money? Give it back to me now!" Lance panicked, trying to pry the old man's hands off, his face drained of blood. "Uncle, calm down. I didn't do it. I swear. I was with Victoria all night." "Last night?" Eleanor screamed, her voice piercing like a siren. "You said you went home to sleep, so you two were colluding." She turned to Victoria, eyes burning with rage. You brat! Did you sell out your parents to follow a man?" Victoria stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, shaking her head vigorously. "No, Mom, I don't know anything. Lance said he didn't touch the computer last night." "Shut up!" Mr. Holt shied, swinging his hand to slap Victoria a thunderous blow. Slap! Victoria fell onto the sofa, covering her face and sobbing. The scene of the exemplary Elite family now looked no different from a broken market. I stood leaning against the liquor cabinet, arms crossed, observing. This was exactly what I wanted to see. No need to lift a finger. Just plant a seed of doubt, and greed will turn it into a poisonous tree that kills them. But the wallet was with Julian," Lance screamed, pointing at my face. "It's him! It must be him! He did something!" All eyes turned back to me. I shrugged, looking pitifully innocent. "Mr. Lance, what strange things are you saying? I'm tech blind. You said I was a peasant, only knowing how to play shooting games. How would I know about crypto transfers? How would I know your wallet address? Furthermore," I pointed at the computer screen displaying the transaction history. "The history clearly shows it was transferred from your office IP. And the donation message is also your name. Are you intending to be a good person but dare not admit it?" Lance was tongue-tied. He couldn't explain why the IP address matched,
because I used a VPN pointing to his office router, which I hacked last week. Mr.
Holt let go of Lance, but his eyes looking at Lance were scarier than a dagger. Do you think I'm old and senile? You intended to swallow $50 million and blame this servant? Give the money back, or I will report to the police. Lance sneered, his fake elegance completely gone, revealing the nature of a gangster. Report it. Do you dare? That money is embezzled money. If you report to the police, you go to jail first.
I'm not afraid. I didn't take your money, but now I don't need you anymore either. He turned to Victoria, spitting on the floor. And you too. Stupid woman. Thought I really loved you? I just needed your dad's money. Now the money is gone. You are trash too. Victoria screamed, rushing to scratch and claw at Lance. Eleanor also rushed in to join the fight.
The three of them wrestled on the expensive Persian rug, vulgar curses ringing out incessantly. Bang! The main door was kicked open, not by the storm, but by the police. An armed task force rushed in, guns in hand. Freeze! Police! The three Holts and Lance were stunned, letting go of each other, clothes disheveled, hair messy. An inspector walked in, holding an arrest warrant. Mr. Thomas Holt, Mr. Lance Sterling.
We have an emergency arrest warrant for money laundering and embezzlement of state assets. Mr. Holt's face went pale, stammering. Evidence? The inspector held up a thick file. We received a report from the International Anti-Corruption Watchdog. This morning, a transaction of $50 million from your personal wallet was transferred to charity funds.
Attached was the entire black accounting record you stored on the cloud, sent anonymously but very detailed. Mr. Holt rolled his eyes back, clutching his left chest, then collapsed on the floor. He had a heart attack. Eleanor screamed shrilly. Lance tried to run out the back door but was pinned down by two policemen. Cuff him! I stood still, watching the chaotic scene. The inspector glanced at me.
Who are you?
I am Julian, Mr. Holt's son-in-law, I replied calmly. Are you involved in this? I shook my head, pointing at the old clothes on my body. Inspector, look at me. I'm just a parasite in this house. They were even about to kick me out. The inspector looked me over, then nodded sympathetically. All right, you can go, but keep in touch to be a witness. I nodded.
I walked toward the suitcase I had left in the corner of the room last night. The suitcase soaked with rain. I picked it up. I walked past Victoria. She was sitting on the ground, watching her father being treated by paramedics, watching her mother crying, watching her lover being handcuffed. She looked up at me, eyes pleading desperately. Julian, where are you going? Don't leave me. I'm sorry. I paused for a moment. I didn't bend down. I just looked at her from above, eyes cold as last night's rain. I'm going to find a new place to stay, Victoria. This house is too crowded now. It holds too many sins. I walked out of the iron gate of the Holt Villa. The rain had stopped. The sky after the storm was strangely blue. Puddles on the road reflected the brilliant sunlight. A shiny black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of me.
The driver stepped out, wearing a neat suit, bowing to greet me. "Good morning, Mr. Julian. You've had a hard time. Everything has been arranged at the new apartment." I nodded, handing the tattered suitcase to him. "Throw this away. I don't need it anymore." The driver took the suitcase, placing it decisively into the roadside trash can. I opened the car door, sitting in the soft leather back seat. I pulled out my phone, opening the personal asset management app. Not Mr. Holt's wallet, but my own wallet, the architect. The asset chart was showing strong green growth. The charity money transfer this morning created a huge media effect for the clean crypto market. The value of the NFT coins I held doubled in just a few hours. I opened the news. The front pages of newspapers were reporting. Shocking corruption scandal. Holt family collapses. Mysterious philanthropist Lance Sterling, money laundering or repentance. I smiled, turning off the phone. Lance would have a lifetime in prison to explain his sudden kindness, and Mr. Holt would have plenty of time to reflect on who the real fool was. The car rolled, gliding smoothly on the tree-lined road. I looked through the window, seeing the magnificent villa gradually receding behind. It used to be a majestic castle, crushing me to the bottom of humiliation. Now it was just a crime scene, sealed off by yellow tapes. I rolled down the window, taking a deep breath of the fresh air of freedom. No more smell of fake perfume. No more musty smell of the attic room. Only the smell of a new beginning. I said to the driver, "Go to the airport. I have a dinner appointment in Monaco." The driver looked in the rearview mirror, smiling. "Yes, sir. Monaco is very beautiful this season." "That's right. Very beautiful. And this time I won't be carrying suitcases for anyone. I'm going to buy the whole resort Victoria dreamed of. But in there will be no room for her."